Epictetus, the slave who taught freedom. Chapter 1: Chains and Choices. Before he ever taught a single student, Epictetus was a slave. Not a metaphor. Not a symbol. A real slave, born into servitude in the Roman Empire around 55 AD. He didn't choose his parents. He didn't choose his fate. He didn't choose the master who owned his body. But he chose one thing: his mind. He endured beatings. He walked with a limp, possibly the result of torture. He was surrounded by wealth and power, and had none of it. Yet when history speaks of him now, it calls him what he truly was: free. Because to Epictetus, freedom was not the absence of chains. It was the presence of wisdom. Chapter 2: The moment that changed everything. One story survives about his enslavement. One day, his master began twisting Epictetus's leg, slowly, cruelly. Epictetus calmly looked at him and said, "Epictetus, if you keep doing that, you'll break my leg." The master laughed. He kept twisting. The bone snapped. Epictetus didn't scream, didn't curse, didn't beg. He simply said, "Epictetus, see? I told you so." Not because he felt nothing, but because he had trained himself to endure everything. He had accepted the one true Stoicism demands. What happens to you is not yours to control, but how you respond is. Chapter 3: A Life of Discipline. Eventually, Epictetus was freed. But he did not seek revenge. He did not seek riches. He did not try to build a name. He built a school. In a small town called Nicopolis, he opened a philosophy school and taught anyone who would listen: soldiers, merchants, nobles, travelers. He owned almost nothing. He lived in a small hut. He had no wife, no children, no political power. But people crossed the empire to hear him speak. Why? Because he offered something no one else did. A way to become unbreakable. Chapter 4: The Doctrine of Control. If you remember one thing from Epictetus, remember this. Epictetus: some things are up to us, and some things are not. That's it. That's the foundation. You don't control the weather, the economy, what others say or do, your body's health, the past, the future. But you do control your opinions, your choices, your desires, your reactions, your actions, your focus. And if you live within that boundary, you will never be a slave again. Chapter 5: How to be free in an unfree world. To Epictetus, freedom had nothing to do with politics or borders. It had everything to do with your inner fortress. 1. Train your desires. Want only what is in your control. Desire what happens, not what you wish would happen. 2. Accept your fate. Not with defeat, but with dignity. Say yes to the moment, even if it hurts. 3. Prepare for hardship. Rehearse loss, illness, pain. Not to become cold, but to become courageous. 4. Question your thoughts. You are not what you feel. You are what you choose to believe and act on. 5. Serve something bigger than you. The Stoic life is not about self-interest. It's about harmony with nature and duty to the whole. Chapter 6: The Student Who Changed History. One of Epictetus's most devoted students was a man named Arrian. Arrian wrote down Epictetus's lectures, word for word, the Discourses and Enchiridion handbook. These weren't academic texts. They were field manuals for life. Centuries later, Marcus Aurelius would study them every day. The Emperor of Rome, learning from a former slave. That's the power of Stoicism. It demolishes the walls between station and soul. It doesn't care where you start, only how you live. Chapter 7: The Flame That Does Not Flicker. Epictetus taught with passion, not to impress but to awaken. He didn't care for elegant speeches. He wanted truth. His students would bring complaints. My brother insulted me. My business failed. My wife left me. And Epictetus would respond, not with comfort, but clarity. Epictetus: it's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them. He wasn't harsh, he was honest. If you say someone offended you, he'd ask, why did you hand them that power? If you say you're suffering, he'd ask, are you resisting what is, or are you working with it? To Epictetus, pain was not the enemy. Lies were. And the biggest lie? That your peace depends on anything outside you. Chapter 8. Stoic Practice for Modern Life. You don't live in ancient Rome. You have a smartphone. You have a career. You have deadlines and traffic and social media. So how do you live like Epictetus? Now? 1. Morning check-in. Ask yourself, what is in my control today? What is not? 2. Pause before reaction. When anger rises, pause. When ego stings, pause. When fear takes over, pause. That pause is power. 3. Rehearse adversity. Imagine losing what you love. Not to scare yourself, to strengthen yourself. 4. Reflect at night. What did I do well today? Where did I act without wisdom? What can I improve tomorrow? 5. Serve others. Freedom is not selfish. Live in harmony with others. Be of use. Chapter 9. On Love, Loss, and Letting Go. One day a student asked Epictetus what to do when a loved one dies. He didn't say, "Don't cry." He said, "Epictetus, when you kiss your child, say to yourself, tomorrow you may die." Not to poison joy, but to make it pure. Because nothing is truly yours. Not your partner. Not your possessions. Not even your body. You are a steward, not an owner. And when you live that truth, you stop clinging. You start cherishing. Epictetus knew, love deeply, but freely. Hold everything with open hands. And when life takes what it must, you bow, not break. Chapter 10. The Philosopher Who Owned Nothing. Epictetus died around 135 AD. He had no great wealth. No monuments. No family name. No temple. But he left something far more powerful. A way of life. A fire that still burns. In quiet rooms. In anxious minds. In hearts that want peace, but not at the price of truth. He didn't give us comfort. He gave us challenge. Not the promise of safety, but the path to strength. He taught one thing, over and over. Epictetus. No man is free who is not master of himself. Chapter 11. Final words from a free man. Let's gather the essence of his teaching simply. Want less. Endure more. Choose wisely. Let go quickly. Serve humbly. Accept totally. Live now. And most of all, own your mind. You don't need wealth to be rich. You don't need praise to feel worthy. You don't need perfect conditions to live with peace. You just need the courage to choose what's yours and release what's not. You just need to live as if life is enough, because it is. Chapter 12. The Slave Who Became a Teacher of Kings. Long after his death, Epictetus's words reached emperors, generals, presidents, athletes, prisoners, monks. Why? Because pain is universal. Loss is universal. Uncertainty is universal. But so is strength. So is reason. So is virtue. He showed us that freedom isn't about escape. It's about mastery. Not of the world, but of the self. You don't need a throne to be powerful. You don't need fame to matter. You only need to live in truth. To rise each day and say, "This is mine to control, and I will." Chapter 13. The Stillness That Stays. Epictetus never sought fame. He never held office. He never wrote a single book. Yet here we are, thousands of years later, whispering his words to ourselves when life becomes too loud. Why? Because when everything is out of control, he reminds us, there is still something you own. Your mind. Your choices. Your peace. He never said it would be easy. But he showed us, through poverty, through slavery, through pain, that it's possible. Chapter 14. You are the philosopher now. You may never wear a toga. You may never sit in a Roman school. But you are a student of Stoicism, here, now. Every time you pause instead of panic. Every time you accept instead of resist. Every time you act with reason instead of rage. You carry the torch that Epictetus lit. And you pass it on, not with words, but with your life. Chapter 15, the final lesson. In the end, Stoicism isn't about words carved in stone or doctrines memorized. It's about how you rise each morning. It's about how you treat people when no one's watching. It's about how you hold yourself when everything else is falling. Epictetus taught us that nothing outside can truly harm us, unless we let it inside. That is your power. That is your freedom. That is your path. You do not need more time. You do not need better luck. You do not need the world to change. You only need this moment, and the courage to live it well. Live simply. Think clearly. Act bravely. Let go gracefully. And remember, you are already free.